Welcome to Ask Rabbit Malicious Compliance, where the highest performing employee is punished so he destroys his boss's bonus. I have 4 awesome stories for you today, so let's jump into it. This first post is titled, Figure It Out and Don't Come Back Till You Do. Okay, buddy, if that's what you want. Okay, this story is set 19 years ago. I remember the exact time frame because I was working at this place when the September 11th attacks happened. This place was the office of an interior designer in the big city I lived in. I'd been looking for tech work, and an acquaintance I had recently been hired on as office manager, so she brought me on. I was happy to land a job providing tech support and to be earning a decent hourly wage with flexible hours. But little did I know how bizarre this place was. How bizarre, you ask? Well, my acquaintance, the new office manager, was never in the office. The designer, let's call him Boss, was also rarely there. Let me tell you a little about Boss. He was an older guy, 60s easily, which was ancient to my 22-year-old self. He constantly ground his teeth and clenched his jaw. He always seemed distracted and had a general vibe of just being weird. So I get this new gig and pretty immediately find myself alone in a nice big office space with no onboarding, no training, and nothing to do. Literally come to work, surf the web for hours, go home, or to class. Every now and then, Boss would randomly come in, ask me to do something vaguely tech-related, like create a spreadsheet for client names, and then he'd ask me to show him how to do the same thing. I'd do it, he'd be thrilled, and give me a bonus on the spot. Sweet, right? Right. Until Boss started coming in and losing his crap about random things, like the green ink on his printed Excel spreadsheet was the wrong hue, or the office manager had called in and why the heck did she need the day off, or any number of random things, none of which were my fault and many of which I had absolutely nothing to do with. Boss was ripping my butt a new one whenever he was in the office, which became more frequently. I learned from the office manager that Boss had been cleared to return to working more hours by a psychiatrist. Wait, what? Turns out Boss was never around when I started because he had a mental breakdown and had been advised to step back from work. So the distractedness, meds. The teeth grinding, uncontrollable stress reaction. He even did it in his sleep. It was so bad his dentist had concerns about his jawbone having microfractured. Oh, great. So the guy gets back into the swing of things and takes everything out on me. I'm 22. My wife's in grad school. I need this job, but I'm feeling the stress. I'm always thinking about work, stewing over the last thing I got unfairly yelled at about. I'm waking up 3 or 4 times a night for no reason I can think of. My wife says I toss and turn when I do sleep. This goes on for a week or 2. Then Boss walks in with a new handheld digital voice recorder, hands it to me and says, when I record a voice note, I want it to be saved in there as boss_date_note_number. And I need you to show me how to use it. Okay, this is actually in my wheelhouse. So I take the recorder, grab the manual, and start tinkering. I come up with a quick how-to curriculum and then read a note in the manual. Voice recordings are saved in the device as VR number _time date stamp. Once you import them to your PC, you may rename them as required. So Boss's initial request is not possible with the hardware, but there's a simple workaround. I document that as part of my curriculum and go sit with the boss to go over it. Naturally, he blows up that he can't rename the files on the device. He can't believe I can't figure this one out. Did I even look at the manual? He knows it can do what he wants. I just have to do my job and learn how to make the changes. And then, OP, go home right now. And don't you come back until you've figured out how to do what I want. Cue my relieved but gleeful malicious compliance. I go home. And since I know that what Boss is asking is impossible, I never even consider returning. I don't call in the next day I'm scheduled. I don't go in. I try to forget the whole ordeal. I do begin to sleep like a baby. 2 weeks pass. I've moved on, looking for another job, doing school, normal stuff. I get a call from Boss out of the blue. OP, you haven't been in a while. Is everything okay? When are you coming back to work? I've got some tech issues I need your help with. I'm floored. This guy is talking to me like the last time we spoke, he wasn't screaming at the top of his lungs, spewing spittle everywhere. So I say, dude, you told me not to come back to work until I figured out that voice recorder thing. So I didn't come back, because that thing is never going to do what you want. Boss: oh, that? I took it back to the store. So I'll see you tomorrow? Me: nope. I figured I was fired, so I've got another job. Please mail me my last check, but don't call me anymore. Thanks, bye. And I disconnected the call laughing. It never felt so satisfying to be unemployed. TLDR, my boss demanded I do something impossible and told me not to come back to work until I figured it out. So I never went back. Alright, this next post is titled, My Parents Forced Me to Wear a Dress. So I did. I'm a trans man and grew up in a very conservative family. As a kid, my parents often forced me to wear dresses and makeup in all sorts of occasions, despite me being extremely uncomfortable with it. The official reasoning was, so the neighbors won't talk, but a large portion of it was also, you need to look as attractive as possible for arranging marriage you have absolutely no interest in. At first, I used to protest it and try to get away with wearing something as toned down and unisex as possible, but eventually it became exhausting and distressing. So screw that. You want me to wear a dress? Fine, I'll wear a dress. The next time I was required to show up in a somewhat formal event, I sure did wear a dress. A black, puffy, Victorian-esque dress, a red corset, dramatic gothic jewelry, heavy black makeup. A full-on show. Oh yeah, the neighbors did talk. Alright, I hope you guys are enjoying these stories so far. Before we get into the next couple stories, if you guys could please do me a huge favor and please smash that like button down below and hit subscribe so you never miss any future content. Alright, this next post is titled, Student Can't Walk to the Van Alone? Okay. I work in a special needs classroom with students from different districts in the area, so most of our students ride in their own vans instead of the bus. One of my students is super smart and well behaved. He just has some quirks and social issues that keep him from succeeding in a typical education setting. He is responsible, so for the past year we let him get ready and walk to the curb and get in the van by himself. I was never farther than 10 yards behind him, making sure he got in all right. His van driver is nice enough, but she seems to get really anxious and snappy about getting on the road on time because she has a long drive out to the kid's house. Cue to last week. His mom called my supervisor raising hell because the van driver told her that I let her kid wander the parking lot unsupervised. I explained myself that this had never happened, but we do promote independence and let him get in by himself. His mom was not convinced and basically told us to stop doing that. Okay, not a problem. This student's van tends to pull up to the curb last of about 10 other contracted transportation service vehicles. My malicious compliance. I let this student walk with me while we get all of his classmates onto their vans. That way, he still feels awesome because he's being responsible by helping his friends and he doesn't leave my side. It now takes us about 10 to 15 minutes to get back to his van. Today, his van driver looked at me and said he probably could walk to the curb and get in the van himself. I gave her a little smile and told her, I'm not just going to let him wander around the parking lot. See you tomorrow. Her lips tightened up and she turned red, annoyed that she has to wait from now on. Alright, this next post is titled, We Hold You to a Different Standard. Several years ago, I started working for a medical testing lab in the IT area. We supported the doctor's offices looking for results. Prior to this, they had only hired from within, so no one in the department had a background in IT. However, they knew the internal system. When I was hired, they allotted 4 weeks for training. By the end of week 2, I was bored out of my skull and asked to be put on the phones. After a few months, I started blowing their stats out of the water. I was doubling or tripling the number of calls taken and spending way less time on them. Judging from what I overheard some coworkers suggesting people do to fix problems, I can see why. Some of the instructions were just off the wall and made me wonder if they knew anything about computers. Cut to a year later and I'm getting my annual review. I know I've done well. They told me each month what my stats were. However, they gave me average marks across the board on the review. What the heck? Well, those people giving the weird solutions also received average marks across the board. Now this affects my raise, so I'm confused. I had the best stats in the department and should have received the 2-step raise, but didn't because of this. I go back to my manager and ask about the marks they gave me. Well, we hold you to a different standard, and you've been meeting this standard. I was mad. I just kept repeating in my head, different standard? Different standard? So I made a note of the exact standard everyone else had and started bringing my work to that level. Well, as close as I could get it, I still can't bring myself to give bad advice. But if the user needed to put me on hold, I wouldn't argue that pressing the power button only took a second. Just let them put me on hold as long as they like. I even suggested they go help patients and get to me when they could. Took extra time and documentation every second of my breaks. If a coworker asked for help, I would follow them back to their desk and assist them through the whole process instead of just sending them the directions. Well, come to find out, I had been raising the average for the whole department prior to this, giving the manager a nice bonus every 6 months. Well, with my compliance to the standard, the manager ended up missing a 6-month bonus, and I changed jobs shortly after that. It was worth it. Alright, that's going to conclude today's malicious compliance video. I hope you enjoyed all those stories today. If you guys could please do me a huge favor and smash that like button down below and make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any future videos. Definitely check out the other malicious compliance and pro revenge stories on this channel. I'll see you guys next time. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.